Hi everybody, these are just some quick directions on some equipment we're going to be needing for the next 2 units, and also some care of one important thing we're going to use. First of all, please be bringing a pencil with an eraser. We're going to be doing a lot of drawings and you're going to need to be doing a lot of edits and things like that. Don't bring a erasable pen. Bring a pencil with an eraser, and this time of the year in the spring, I hardly ever have any pencils because I don't find too many in the hallway. The other thing that I've already talked to many of you about, if not all of you, is get a ruler. Any ruler will work, but the clear one is going to be best. Again, we use the rulers mostly for drawing pictures, not for making measurements. We have a couple of measurements we do as well, but when you get a clear one, you can see through. Be careful if you, and Mrs. Treelevin has these for sale for $1 if you get them when she still has some left. These are flexible, which works really good, but don't be banging them around and creasing them, or one, they break. And don't beat them on things on the side, because then you get divots on the side and that will mess up what you're going to be drawing with your pencil. Another thing everybody's going to need is you're going to need a protractor, and the smaller the protractor, the better. Any protractor will work, but the big ones that they typically sell at like Office Depot are pretty unwieldy. And so at any rate, these smaller ones work very good. Now, the main thing I wanted to talk about in this video was another piece of equipment we're going to be using that you need to know some things about and we need to be very, very careful with, and that is the flashlights we'll be using. Now, these flashlights are old style flashlights in that they actually have a bulb in them rather than being LED. And we can't use them like you see it as a flashlight, because all flashlights have mirrors in them, and that makes the light not work right. We're going to have to be using these by taking the hood off of this and exposing the light bulb. And they work really good for this. And when you expose the light bulb, it makes the light bulb emit light just like a miniature sun. And it works really nicely for our studies in astronomy. So at any rate, we're going to have this bulb exposed whenever we're using them, and that presents all sorts of needs for care. And let me explain why. Let me put this up here where we can see it a little easier on a black backdrop. Here is our flashlight. These are the bulbs that go in the flashlight. Let me zoom in on those so that you can see them. They are extremely small. It doesn't show up really well on the camera, but they're very, very small, and they don't screw in. They actually just push in on 2 extremely little wires that are smaller even than a paper clip. That means that is super easy to bend if you hit it on anything. Please, if you hit it on anything, let me know. Don't try and bend it back with your fingers. If you get your fingers on that, the bulb gets the oil from your hand on it, and then it burns it out. So you need to be very, very careful not to be bumping this light when it's exposed, because it is extremely easy to damage. The other thing is, and I took the batteries out of this so the light would stay off, and I'll demonstrate it with it on in a minute, but when you put the hood back on, and again, let me grab a white background so we can see this a little easier. When you put the hood back on, hopefully it'll show up in the camera, and it does, you can see the hood's got a very little hole right in the middle that's just a big enough diameter to fit this through. Now you can imagine what happens if that gets bent slightly in one direction and you try and put that on. It doesn't fit through the hole, and you hear a crunching sound as you break the light putting that back on. Okay, so we got to be very, very careful about a number of things, because we're using these flashlights in kind of a way that's dangerous, not for you, but for my flashlight. And again, we'll take this and we'll screw it on like that, and you can see how that works. Now, some of the flashlights, as a matter of fact, many of them are missing the cover that goes on them as well. Don't worry about that if that happens to you, because we're not going to be needed in any way. But the reason that happens is because some people, when they take the cover off, we want to take this whole thing off right here. Sometimes people will, and it's easy to do if you're not careful, they'll unscrew this part, which doesn't take the hood off. It just has the mirror in there and the like, and those have fallen out over time, so a lot of these do not have the little cover on them, but that's no big deal. Just try not to unscrew this little top part. Always try and remove the entire hood of the flashlight. Okay, so we've got to be very, very careful with these. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the batteries in the flashlights just so you can see. This flashlight doesn't have an on-off switch anywhere on it. You turn it on simply by unscrewing it. When that gets to a point, now you can see the lights on. And of course, we're going to be taking the lights off and we're going to be using them like this. And you can see why I took the batteries out, because now you can't see the bulb at all. The other kind of cool thing is you can set them in here and it makes like a little stand for your light as well. So you can put it up like that and you have hands off. Be very careful, because another problem with these is they roll real easy. So if you're just laying this down on your desk, the chances that it can go for a tumble off your desk get a lot greater. So you just got to really treat these very, very carefully. Now the final thing is, these things eat up batteries if you're playing with the flashlights when you're not supposed to be. We have a very simple rule in class. That rule is, if the lights in the classroom are on, flashlights must be off at all times. I'm going to be barking at you if the lights are on and I see your flashlight on. The minute the lights in the class go out, then that is the sign that you can go ahead and undo this and get your light ready to use. Okay? But again, really want you to be careful with these flashlights, because we use them in a way that makes them very fragile, but we have to use them that way because those little mirrors that make them look great as a flashlight screw up their light and it makes it not behave naturally. And we want the light in these to work just like it comes off the sun. Okay? And that's it for our equipment movie. So please be good stewards of our stuff.